Well, are we ready and recording? And this is what I always used to do when we were doing Zoom. Is recording going? So now I'm automatically at the beginning of any presentation. Are we recording? We are recording. We're recording today because we are limited in terms of numbers. We can only really put this many seats in this room for reasons you'll probably understand. There are many, many people who couldn't be here today because, as you know, the world has come alive in September now that COVID seems to be hopefully going away. We have many other events going on in this wonderful hotel. So it's being recorded and it will be put out afterwards. So be careful what you say when you have a microphone in front of you. I want to start by issuing a really heartfelt thank you to the Martone family, of whom we have Ambra here today. The Martone family own this wonderful hotel. I'm going to ask Ambra to come up in a little bit and talk about it. But the hospitality that we've been shown as the British Chamber of Commerce over the last few years, at many events, including when Catriona took over from Tim Fleer as Consul General, has been simply wonderful, and we really appreciate it. And we consider the Martone family and this hotel as part of the British Chamber family. So thank you very much indeed for your very warm hospitality as ever. I'll ask you to come up in a bit. I'm not going to talk very much because you've heard me talk about sustainability for the last 2 years and you can't wait for me to shut up, I know. So all I'm going to say is a couple of things because this is a very important moment in time, as you all know. It is the pre-COP to the COP, which is pre-COP here in Milan and the COP in Glasgow. We are the British Chamber of Commerce for Italy. So when we knew that those two cities were going to be central to the COP, we knew as a business organisation that represents both Italian and British interests that I have to turn my phone off. No, that we had to be at the centre of this, because business has a very, very important role to play. COP is, of course, a political thing. It's a national political thing. And the only decisions that are actually taken at COP are taken by politicians, by the leaders of countries on a multilateral basis, we hope. But around the edges of the COP is what's important, as far as I'm concerned. Why do I say that? I say that because, and I've been saying this for 2 years, you can't just leave it up to the politicians. It's not fair on them, it's too much for them, and they need some help. It really is the time for business to show leadership, take on the reins, and make the change happen that we all need to know about. I can go on now about all kinds of gloom and doom stories about where we're heading, you know, how much rainforest is disappearing, water levels, floods. I'm not going to do any of that because you can just go and look it up on the internet and you can read all about it. My point is now that we need to address this in a positive way, in a way that makes people engage. Because businesses, as we are here and as are going to be watching this, are staffed by people, and people care. Too often you think of the CEOs of some sort of petrochemical industry as this far-off industry who's sitting on the top of his ivory tower smoking a cigar going, ha 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 ha, I'll burn those fossil fuels, just you watch me. They care, they do care, because they're people. And they may not care about climate change for the same reason that you care, or you care, or you care, but there will be some reason that they care about it. Maybe they like to go skiing and they find out there's no snow. So they want to do something about climate change. My point is, it's not important why you care about climate change, it's important that you care. And that is how we want to talk as a Chamber of Commerce to our members about climate change. Not judgmentally, not accusatorily, but in an inclusive way, in a way that encourages them to come forward and say, yes, we want to be part of this mission because it speaks to our values, it speaks to our identity. Not, you have to change your identity, but it's about who we are, and it affects all of us. So that is the way I think, and I'm not the only one I hope, is the best way of addressing climate change with businesses, getting them engaged, getting them involved, and not excluding them. And our role as a Chamber of Commerce, in my view, is to aggregate, is to get those businesses that are part of our membership together in a group to encourage each other to take action in the race to zero. Because the race to zero is one of the few ways we can actually guarantee, without greenwashing, that things will change. So you sign up to science-based targets, you're a big organization, so you can measure what you're doing, and you can be measured. And it's not just bilancio sostenibile, sì, mettiamo qualcosa, va bene, we put it out and it's full of fufa, greenwash. No. Or if you're a small business, the SME Climate Hub. That is what we want to encourage our members to do, to take that step, sign up to those things, and encourage others to do the same in their supply chains, of their clients, of their suppliers. That way, you start a mission, and that way, you start a conversation, and that way, you affect change. And the title of this is Closing the Gap Between Talking and Doing. And I've heard a lot of, now's the time for action, stop talking, act, do. Well, talking is action, in a way, isn't it? You have to decide to stand up with a microphone and talk. So I encourage everyone to keep talking. Yes, act, but keep talking, because the more we talk, the more chance we will have of actually doing something. That's pretty much all I want to say, apart from introducing who we're going to have up. I'm going to ask Ambra to come up in a second. Oskar Metsavaht we have with us. He's the founder and president of the Istituto-E. He's in another session. He's going to be coming in a second and talking to us about sustainable design thinking. We're very lucky to have Oskar here. He is a UNESCO ambassador and a very impressive individual indeed. He's been following the sustainability agenda for some 30 years. We are really very lucky to have with us, well, I mean, the best of Scotland, I have to say. The very best of Scotland. Yes, Sharon, I can see you looking at me going, and I can see Robin also behind. I can see, I'm surrounded by Scots. But we have representatives from the Glasgow Chamber of Commerce, Richard and Saren. Thank you so much for coming over to Milan, for being with us, and for sharing what you're doing in Glasgow, because it's really important, and our relationship as two chambers has been fantastic, and I know will continue to be. And another Scot, our wonderful Consul General, Katrina Graham, is here as well, and we'll be talking as well in a moment. We have UPS, one of our greatest members for many, many years, here to talk to us about sustainable logistics, because we are a trading organisation, and what do you do when you trade? You move goods from one place to another place. So Britta's here to talk to us about how you do that sustainably and in a more green way. And I'm very pleased to welcome back to the fold of our membership Curtis and Associates. John Curtis is here, Jonata Ferroni. We welcome you back with open arms to talk about some fantastic new technology that you have, and we're looking forward to hearing from you on that. So that's all I'm going to say. I want to pass the microphone over now. I will act as moderator, so when you finish, I will pop up and take the microphone again, pass it to the next person. So Ambra, if you'd like to come up and say a few words, thank you very much indeed. A round of applause, please.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you to the British Chamber. I can smell the family spirits here in the really warm welcome and from your speeches, so I feel home. I'm honored and thankful to be the first nest of Hub E in Milan, and this place for us is very important because it is the beginning of our business history. So where we are today was the premises of our perfume factory, which we wanted to value and valorize because we believe this is an important part of sustainability thinking, learning from your history and valuing your culture. So we transformed this place into an hotel, and we wanted to have the spirit of the perfume factory survive. That's why we invented the concept of Hotel à Parfum. What does it mean, Hotel à Parfum? It means that each suite is inspired by a raw material that we use in perfumery. So not only each suite is named after rose, vetiver, labdanum, etc., but also we have developed a specific scent inspired by this raw material, and we offer unique sensorial experience inspired by fragrances. So if you have then a second later, I encourage you to visit our perfume laboratory that is at the end of this hallway, where you can smell very peculiar raw materials and also see some of the archives from our perfume factory with all the ancient alembic and instrument that we used to use here. So this is the spirit of a family, and we hope that it will welcome you and you will feel home today to talk about sustainability, beauty, and sharing and taking action in bringing our history forwards. So welcome again, and thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Ambra. Actually, your name reminds me, Ambra, of ambergris, which I understand is one of the rarest scents to get hold of.
And we have it here. Yeah. It's quite unique. I'm sure none of you have ever smelled the real ambergris, so please go to the lab and ask to see it and smell it, because it's quite a unique raw material, and I'm glad you mentioned it.
Before they smell it, do they want to know where it comes from? Whale? Thank you, Robin. You said it, not me.
But it is aphrodisiac, and it was used since century ago, really to create perfumes and cosmetics, because it has very specific features.
I just wonder who the first person was who came across the whale vomit and went, that's not bad. I want to pass the microphone over now to Katrina. Katrina, please come up and say a few words. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone. I'm very honoured to have just received my Scotland-Italy badge. I'm going to put that on later. Thank you, Aaron. So yes, thank you for having me here today amongst our many other distinguished speakers to talk about also my favourite topic, like Tom, which is of course the fight against climate change. And also, what better a week to do that than this week, where Milan is really at the centre of the global stage on this issue. I'm Katrina, obviously the consul here in Milan. This is a topic which is really the reason why I sort of joined government in the first place. I studied sustainable energy and joined government when it was the Department of Energy and Climate Change had first been set up. So it's really a privilege to be here in Milan just when this issue is really coming to this city, and this city is taking such leadership on it. So I hope that after all the buzz that is created this week, I think we counted somewhere between 18 and 20 events are going on just in the 3 days to come between ourselves and the British Chamber. So there's lots happening. We want to make sure that that continues afterwards as well, towards Glasgow and then on into the years ahead. So I think it's clear to all of us that work in this area, most of us here in this room, I'm sure, that the future is definitely going to be a green future. That was perhaps in doubt, a decade or so ago, but now it feels the consensus is really there. So we have over 70% of the world economy now covered by net zero targets. Sources of renewable energy already in a lot of the world are already at par with or cheaper than fossil fuels. And if we look at most of the world's biggest automobile companies, they have already said that they are no longer going to be manufacturing petrol and diesel engines in the future. So this wave has begun. I think it's there to stay. So the message we're keen to, with your help, get across to the wider community is that this transition is not a sacrifice. No, it's the opposite. It's an opportunity. It's the way that the future economy is going. It's where you want your company to be if you're interested in future growth. So the UK economy itself is a good example of this in action. The UK economy over the last 30 years has grown by 78%, but at the same time our national emissions have been reduced by 44%. So very much shows that these two things go hand in hand. Already in the UK, we have more than 500,000 jobs that are directly attributed to the low carbon sector. By 2030, we want that figure to grow to at least 2 million new jobs. And that's something that, again, I've personally witnessed with the great success story of the UK, which is the offshore wind sector, which the government backed early on. And in a previous job, I was privileged to work on that and to visit particularly areas of the north of England, which of course are the centres of the first industrial revolution, but have since been in a more difficult situation. But now with this new green industrial revolution, are seeing skilled jobs return to those centres of expertise. So it was really rewarding at the time to go around these factories in Hull and Teesside and meet people on the shop floors and realise that their livelihoods and their skills were going to be put to use, and also for their children after them, I hope. So the Prime Minister's launched exactly this, a 10-point plan for a green industrial revolution, and that's going to bring in £12 million of public money, leveraging, we hope, up to 3 times as much as that from private investment as well. And last night we launched the European Green Investment Summit, which was when we have our Minister for Investment here in Milan this week. He launched that UK growth offer to a community of European investors because he wanted to make clear that we need to work with Europe, here specifically with Italy, to make that growth happen. This isn't something that any one country can achieve on its own. We need the innovation, the investment of all of us to achieve this. So I think both the UK and Italy have made clear this is a priority. In Italy, 41% of the National Recovery and Resilience Plan has already been earmarked for the green transition. There's now, of course, under Draghi, a new Ministry of Ecological Transition, which shows the importance that is being placed on this issue. A big focus on infrastructure, a big focus on particularly high-speed trains, but also infrastructure for public charging of electric vehicles. In Italy, there's now a target, which is part of the EU framework, for 30 million electric cars to be on the road by 2030, which is 75% of Italy's car fleet. So that's going to be a radical transformation for that industry. So what I'm saying is both of our countries are on this road to a low carbon economy, and all of you, preachers of the converted, are involved. But our mission here with the Chamber is to make sure that other businesses see that opportunity and get on board. And specifically here in Milan and in Glasgow, we're of course, I think, particularly lucky, particularly well placed to take advantage of this transition. You know, we've got this opportunity now on the global stage with the COP26 conferences that both our cities are hosting. Both Milan and Glasgow are leading business centres, you know, in a region in which they're the economic powerhouse, and with a strong focus already on the transition to net zero in the businesses that are represented here. Home to lots of innovative, particularly small and medium-sized businesses, which are the place where I think we're going to see a lot of the innovation actually coming from. So I think the message is there's a big opportunity here for us to get involved in together. There's a real buzz at the moment, but let's make sure this doesn't stop when Glasgow's conference finishes. Let's take this bridge that we've built between our two business communities and use it well afterwards also. So through the chamber here, through yourselves in Glasgow, through my team at the consulate and the embassy in the UK's Department for International Trade, we're here to help more companies to get together and form these partnerships, which we hope will be fruitful in the future and be good for the planet. So do continue working with us on this. We've got a lot to achieve together, and I'm really looking forward to being a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Katrina, you reminded me actually, because I said the title of our talk was Closing the Gap Between Talking and Doing, and of course the title of our talk, that's the subtitle, our title is Bridge to Glasgow. And by Bridge to Glasgow, of course, we're really thinking about the future because Glasgow is the COP, and that's exactly what we want to do with this, is remind ourselves that this does not stop on November the 4th. This is going to go on and on for a lot longer. But now I want to introduce Oskar. Oskar, are you ready? Because I can bring you in later, or are you happy to come in now?
Happy to come in.
Terrific. Well, now no time like the present. So, Oskar, if you'd like to come up, I've already introduced you in your absence, but please do come up, and we're very lucky to have Oskar here. Please give him a round of applause. And he's really happy with that. Next slides. Yes.
Thank you very much to come to the hoop. For us to, we have idealized this event, and sure that the three parts that we created this event is very contemporary, because are countries that have a relationship in its synergy and for a long time, and the quality of entrepreneurism in each one can symbolize a lot what's going on now for Glasgow. What I would say is that sustainability is a word. Sustainable development is a concept that has only 30 years. It was developed, it was announced in the Rio de Janeiro conference and the UN conference in 1992. Because before, only in the 50s, it was the first meeting of UN with our leaderships around the world that came to the first time to talk about preservation, to pay attention for nature. Since there, we have, until the 90s, we always thought about preservation, nature preservation. What means we couldn't touch nature because we would be killing the planet. And so it was on it. It was at the political side, it was philosophical side, ideological side. But as most of us here, we can imagine how would be a utopic dream from us, human society, in the planet. Because we know that we move for centuries on the economic point of view. And preservation, only preservation, without developing economically, of course, we wouldn't be feeding or bringing better quality of life for the other economic classes, or even developing technologies through the power of economics. But in 1992, Mr. Maurice Strong, as I showed before, he was the secretary for this summit. Till now is the most symbolic event from UN on sustainability. It was in Rio 1992, when they launched the first time the thinking of sustainable development. What means? I love, because they touched me in that time, in the 90s, and I could come from this romantic ideologism of preservation to a sustainable development. It's, yes, what it means yes, we can use the nature resources to develop economically or mean to create profits if we keep them, the nature reserves, as the way we found or better to the next generations. So this is an important point of view. It's a very important point of view. Yes, we can, but we need technologies, respect, and vision to how to use it to get better quality of life now and keep it for the next generations. So it was the blooming for the entrepreneurial point of view with our relationship to the planet, for the nature. And did bring, we are here exactly 30 years later, did bring the Kyoto Protocol, did bring the biodiversity conservation, did come the Earth Chart, did come the Agenda 21st. I'm talking about 4 important documents that were written in the 90s. Are related to social impact, are related to the environment on land, it's on climate change. A lot of issues that we have learned, listed on the last 30 years. The other meetings, as we are going to have in Glasgow, governments didn't change much. We could say even nothing. Kyoto Protocol wasn't signed. Paris Protocol was partially signed. Okay, and because they were about changing government and political issues to become transformed to laws or fiscal incentives for entrepreneurs to get into the sustainability. But look what interesting. Did it develop on the last 30 years? But us society has developed what we want, what we need. But we can observe, I'm sharing here what I could observe from the last 3, 4, 5 years, that companies, entrepreneurial, at the adventure of entrepreneurs, and some companies has moved to sustainable development. Much, much more than governments, much, much more than us as individuals. If we see now, if we take attention now, we can find in most industries, besides that, I'm a physician, I'm an artist, okay? And I'm talking here because I have the entrepreneurial spirit. So I'm saying that because when I talk too much about economics, it looks like I'm a entrepreneurial on this only point of view. Some industries has changed a lot, much more than us. Think about each one of us as individuals. We have changed not so much. We are talking a lot, we are pointing a lot, institutions and companies, governments, like I'm touching now, they were saying, we are not changing, we didn't change so much. But companies, entrepreneurial spirit of the humankind has changed a lot. And in Glasgow, it's very symbolic because the zeitgeist of the planet, with or without the COVID, of course COVID didn't bring us as individuals deeper to understand that the urgency to act now. But this is going, and I hope so, we all hope so, it's going to be a more entrepreneurial thinking, zeitgeist, and decisions through all events like ours, as the pre-COP, and the events around the Glasgow meeting. This is very important because we as society, we have changed without needing to change laws. We changed it on the heart, we changed it on the vision, the philosophy, and into the economics. So this is, it's a kind of a new world because the entrepreneurial from the intellectuals to entrepreneurial on art, science, philosophy, entrepreneurics, and economics. We are, I think you would share with me, we are living a neo-Renaissance moment. We are living a neo-Renaissance moment. Because like Renaissance, science, as we have in our technologies, biotechnology, technologies on the lands to develop food or to keep better quality of life as biotechnology or technologies. We are having a disruptor. Also disruptor about thinking about the planet. Talking about understanding Gaia not only more as a thesis, but as a reality. And so we are living also a moment that ideologies, dogmas, philosophies, religions, everything, and economic philosophies, we are living in a moment very vulnerable in a way, but on the same time in a great moment to more contemporary and visionary ideas come up. And we are living this neo-Renaissance, of course. And this is why we are living a very difficult times to understand. We are living a strong world war, economic and mediatic and information war between some corporations and states and ideological potencies. But in this way, the entrepreneurial spirit is something that is moving something ahead. And we hope that the Glasgow is going to identify sustainable projects. Is going to bring collaboration, exchange information, and going through no more only geographic nations, geopolitical nations, but lifestyle nations. That's what we are living now. And then I'm a very optimist. I like to say that I'm loving living this generation of the human civilization on the planet, because us, from this industrial revolution, of course, we have developed and we had a chance and we had to live more, to grow more, to have stronger economics. We have so many knowledge. We did it with the industrial revolution. In the same way, we became, with the industrial revolution, a dying planet through pollution, etc., etc. But our mindset, the human mindset, has changed. Yes, we are saving the planet. Again, we are saving the planet through entrepreneurial changing, through those philosophies on sustainable development. So I think it's 30 years of the first time the planet sit down together in Rio de Janeiro and did come from this idea, this concept. That's what really can bring us an optimism into us, and not saying no to companies, not to individuals, not saying that us, with the Industrial Revolution, we have killed the planet, etc. I think it's a brief moment in our life that instead of coming into the Middle Age, that we are going to the Middle Age. We are like the Renaissance, we are turning it up in a sustainable way for the planet. So I hope Glasgow, I believe Glasgow is going to bring it to us in another conception for these world summits that we had over the last decades. Thank you.
Thank you, Oskar. Inspiring and optimistic indeed, and we have to be optimistic. We were just in a session earlier where Gaia, you talked about Gaia, The Earth is 4.6 billion years old, and Gaia was compared to a 46-year-old woman. Now, she's 46-year-old now. The Industrial Revolution started 60 seconds ago in that life. So there's a bit of perspective in terms of the blip, and let's hope it does change. And you talked about Glasgow and the entrepreneurial spirit, and what businesses have in terms of their capacity to be entrepreneurial or imprenditoriale, to convert it into Italian. And that is what we hope to bring when we are at Glasgow with the climate chamber that we're going to be having, and the wonderful mission to bring 10 businesses from 10 British Chambers of Commerce worldwide to Glasgow to share ideas and spark that entrepreneurial spirit, talk about the solutions that we're going to need so badly and are already starting to show. So on that note, Richard, I'd like to invite you to come up and talk about Glasgow. Thank you very much. Round of applause for Richard, please.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you, Tom, for that warm welcome. I'm Richard Muir. I'm the Deputy Chief Executive of Glasgow Chamber of Commerce, and I have to say I've been completely inspired by the last 24 hours, and thank you to Oskar for the Hub-E event. Last night and today has been completely inspirational, and I should say a massive thank you to Tom and Aaron and to Margherita and the team at British Chamber of Commerce Italy. I'm very proud to be wearing my Scotland-Italy badge today. Our relationship with British Chambers of Commerce Italy goes back 10 years, just after I started at Glasgow Chamber of Commerce. It's our oldest heritage partnership. We had an MOU we signed 10 years ago, and we're very, very proud of our connections with the British Chamber Italy and all of the members that you have here. So thank you for the invitation. It's a great privilege to be here. I'm going to do a little 5-minute insert in terms of one of the projects that we're working on, and it's very, very telling that we're talking about the bridge between doing and talking. So we want to talk to you today about 2 legacy projects which we've been working on at Glasgow Chamber of Commerce in partnership with the British Chamber Italy and another 9 approximate partners. So the way we're going to do this, if you're okay, is I'll talk for a couple of minutes about the projects around My Climate Path and My Climate Hero, and then we're going to get a short video from some of the school children, the young people in Glasgow, which, thank you very much. Okay, great. And then my colleague Seren is going to take the floor, and she's going to tell you about the Climate Chamber mission, which we're very excited about as well, which is the project Tom discussed before. So My Climate Path is a project which we have put together at Glasgow Chamber of Commerce, which is quite a complex project in the sense that there are 10 parts to it actually. But it's a coming together of projects that we've already worked on. We've had a Glasgow Circular Economy team for over 5 years, and we've also had a Developing the Young Workforce team for 5 years as well. So these are 2 very critical projects for the Chamber of Commerce in Glasgow: young people and circularity. And of course, with COP26 coming to Glasgow, it made absolute sense to join the 2. So what we've been doing is putting together a raft of projects, but really liaising and being the bridge between school children and business. So we have identified 100 schools in the west of Scotland, and we are working with them to send school children into workplaces and also to send people who work in the businesses who are the circular experts to go to schools. So there's a 2-way process. And you'll see here the Climate Heroes project, where we're basically looking to identify leaders of the future. So effectively, the school children will be visited by industry experts who will impart their knowledge and basically outline jobs for the future and inspire the young people to get those jobs and to become skilled in those areas. So it's a really, really interesting project. It's developing at pace. As I say, we're working with 100 schools. And it will take, great strides, I think, to helping to create those leaders of the future. So there's a whole series of pilot opportunities, and I think the ones I would probably like to given that we're in Milan today, it makes sense to talk about the fashion event, which is happening during COP. So we've got a sustainable fashion event with ACS Clothing. ACS Clothing is an interesting business. They actually hire clothing out. So they rent jeans and they rent jumpers and tracksuits and things. So they've been a real leader in the city. So you get the opportunity to work with ACS clothing, and the fashion show will be running, and it's actually aiming at inspiring children to get involved in fashion, to design clothes, to take control of the fashion. The Circular Economy Challenge, we're working very closely with Young Enterprise Scotland on that one. That's all the different components. The We Forest Nature Scot project is basically working with children on sort of basketball-sized initiatives, so growing trees, forests, working hard with them. And Scotland's message from Glasgow to Milan, so we could play the video, please, Margarita.
We go back. Hiya, you alright?
Try making the world better.
People need to talk about like face to face and actually like make people understand how big of an issue it is.
I think it's definitely came up on like my feed and stuff more often, but I've just not really looked into it. But I am worried. Obviously, I've seen like it's quite shocking. Obviously, with like the icebergs melting and stuff. Obviously, that is like a big thing. So I think I am definitely worried.
Act now before it's too late, and also just remember that it affects people's futures and people's livelihoods.
We need to do something now for the sake of our futures.
Clean up the mess before we do, and do something about the climate change situation. Like the way I live right now, it's going to be completely different from the way I live when I'm older. And when it gets further and further, I don't think people will be able to cope with it, and it'll be really difficult, so we'll need to really try and turn it around.
We need to challenge climate change, and it needs to happen now for our generation and generations to come.
The poorer countries can't really do nothing because they don't have the money for it yet, and the bigger countries could help the poorer countries advance faster.
The decisions you make will have a big impact on the next generation.
We need to make a change now, if not it might be a bit too late. Us as humans are destroying the world.
As a young person, we should be learning more about the climate change and the environmental changes.
Start like enforcing more rules for it and that, and like just try harder basically. As cheeky as that sounds, but yeah, try harder.
Get information out, because the kids nowadays have no clue what is going on, and I feel like if they did know, then change would start.
Think of the future and think of your children, and give them a good start in life, and obviously produce more jobs for young people.
Tell people that it's actually them that can make a difference. It's everybody. Even small changes can potentially change so much, and it can make everything so much better.
We need to remember that there's so much individuals can do. So these leaders really need to make sure that everyone has a larger commitment. It's not about me or you, it's about the companies, it's about the government and the policies that are put in place. I think this is what is most important. As individuals, we can put pressure on those leaders to make the right thing.
So great to hear from those school children and their message to Milan. And so the talk bridging between the doing and the talking has led us to speak to a number of companies. So we've been speaking to companies like McDonald's, and one of the projects that we have with McDonald's is to get school children to work with McDonald's for a week on construction. And we set them the challenge of how would you construct a net zero McDonald's outlet to encourage them to get into construction and to work towards net zero. We've also been working with companies like Scottish Television, Civic Engineers and Clockwise. So STV have now launched their STV Zero Net campaign for 2030, and they've launched a £1 million green fund, an advertising-friendly project to help companies advertise their green credentials, so school children will get the chance to work with them. Equally with Civic Engineers, which is a structural and transportation engineer business, and school children can work with them in terms of creating inspirational places. And one of the projects in Glasgow is a famous project which has delivered real transformation in sections of the cities called the Avenues Project, which is a green tree-lined area of the city centre. And Clockwise is a very contemporary shared workspace where they're encouraging their staff and members to prioritise climate change, net zero targets, circular economy and health and well-being. So school children will get the chance through My Climate Path to work with those companies and with companies like those as well. So we're delighted about the talking is over, the action is happening. And I'm now going to ask Seren to come up and say a few words about our Climate Chamber mission, which is an interesting exchange of over 100 businesses who will be taking part during COP26. So I'll hand over to Seren. Thank you for your time, and if you've got any questions, we can take them at the end. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. And let me just say as well, it's really nice to be here. Thank you so much to Tom and Aaron and the team for inviting us. And as Richard said, it has been really inspiring hearing from so many innovative and sustainable companies. So maybe Margaret. Yeah, so I'm just going to talk to you now about another initiative that the Glasgow Chamber are working on during COP. So basically, because when we were planning for our international activity in the lead up to COP, we thought what's better than to host a kind of mega international trade mission, first building on a lot of the partnerships that we already had with chambers like the British Chamber of Commerce Italy, and then also building new relationships with other chambers across the world. So our idea is really to, as Richard said, to be connecting around 10 to 12 international British chambers and also circular economy organisations, and ask them to invite kind of up to 10 leading sustainable and circular businesses. And when we were planning this event, we didn't really know if COP was going to be virtual or in person. So the event is very much set up to be a virtual event. So for companies in countries like Indonesia, where it's a little bit harder to come over to Glasgow, they will be participating primarily online. But I think for the likes of the British Chamber of Commerce Italy, we do hope that the Italian companies will actually be able to come in person to Glasgow. So I suppose the aim of the event is really to connect up to 100 leading sustainable and circular businesses with the aim to help them to build and form international partnerships, but also to help them reach those net zero targets, and for some companies maybe actually put some targets in place. So as you can see here, these are some of the countries that we are working with. So we have Italy, we've got Germany, we have Indonesia, we've got Australia, we have Singapore, we've got Norway, we have Bulgaria and also Israel. So a huge variety of countries, and we are really excited to say that I think the majority, especially of the European countries and their businesses, will actually be coming to Glasgow. So the event is happening on the 2nd and 3rd, so it is in that first week of the conference. And so the event is going to have 7 to 8 sectors that we will really be focusing on. So you can see here some of the sectors that we're going to be looking at, and I suppose with that main theme being sustainability and the circular economy. So what's going to happen over the 2 days is we're going to have, I think we have a programme of up to around 60 plus speakers that will be participating, some of which will be the companies that are actually participating as our 100 delegates, and others are guest speakers. So businesses are going to be invited to hear keynote sessions, different seminars, and then I suppose the area that really adds the most value are that they're going to be able to participate in business-to-business meetings and actually connect with each other. So the event platform that we're using is the Hop-In platform, and this is going to be open 2 weeks prior to the actual event. So these companies will be able to go online, access the delegate list, access different emails, and then they'll actually be able to identify, I really want to meet this company, and they'll be able to set up and organise their meetings. So hopefully it will be of huge value to these companies. There'll be lots of opportunities for networking. And I suppose as well, for those companies in Glasgow, it'll be a great opportunity to actually meet physically. And then if companies are in person in Glasgow, we're also going to be holding a site visit to one of our excellent whisky companies called Edrington. So we will have a site visit, and then we'll hear about their sustainable strategy, and then we'll also hopefully do a whisky tasting and evening reception. So I think it should be a really fun evening as well for those in the city. And then here you can just see we've got a wide variety of companies that are going to be joining us. So we have some Scottish companies like Bango, we've got Scottish Leather Group, we've got MacCreeber, who are a really interesting company that basically instead of putting tarmac on the road, they use recycled plastic pellets and they put that into the road. And then we also have, I'm really pleased to say that we have New Energy Matrix and John Curtis and the team here actually, and they're going to be joining us, I think, in person. So we've got New Energy Matrix and also Gold Teak, which we're really excited about. And we've got, you can see the rest of the companies. If you want more information, then come and speak to Richard and I. We can provide you with the fuller list of who's participating. But I suppose just one thing to add, if you're a company in this room who are doing a lot of work in sustainability or the circular economy and you are interested in participating, then please do come and speak to us. So there's a cost of £1,000 for participating businesses, and then we are also inviting kind of a wider audience for purely listening. So hopefully there'll be an excellent opportunity for exposure for those businesses actually taking part in the delegation. So I think just really to close, just finally to say that we do hope that these initiatives are not just going to be one-off events or campaigns, but they are going to have that legacy that follows after COP. And one thing that we're doing for the climate change mission for those companies that are participating is that we're offering a 6-month kind of trial on this online community called One Earth, and it's a platform that the UN have used previously, and it'll be an opportunity for these companies to continue to connect and trade and learn, and we hope that that will continue throughout 2022 as well. And then there's just finally one last initiative that the Chamber has been working on is something called Plate Up for Glasgow. And this is a campaign that is running from the 12th of October to the 12th of November, so during that COP period. And it is going to be working with 26 restaurants within the city, and these restaurants are going to be, each day of the campaign, they will be offering a zero waste dish. So whether that's that they've used waste food, or they've used preservation techniques, or they've used unwanted or kind of unfashionable bits of meat, this is going to be kind of an offer for the businesses that are coming to the city, to book into these restaurants. And I think one fact that really shocked me is that 30% of food is actually wasted within the industry, which is a huge amount. So I think it's just really positive that this campaign is going to be encouraging our restaurants in the city to actually think about how they use their food and what they're doing with it and what they're doing with the scrap bits of meat or vegetables or whatever it is. So we hope that this campaign will not just be a campaign, but that we can continue to encourage restaurants to do that over the next year or so. So I think that's everything from us. And again, if you have questions, then just come and let us know at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Richard, so much for that presentation. What you guys are doing in Glasgow is inspirational to us also, especially the stuff on youth, which is really important, and we've seen the Youth COP happen here. And obviously, this is about the future and about the next generation, because they're the ones who are inheriting some of the problems that have been caused by previous generations. I think we should move on now, and having heard from Glasgow, I'd like to introduce now, go on to our two main sponsors of this event. First, as I mentioned earlier, one of our long-standing, most loyal members and one of the greatest members, UPS. Britta, I'd like to invite you up to come and talk about sustainable logistics. Thank you, Britta.
Yeah, thank you everybody for being here. It's a real great pleasure also to speak in person again and not any longer just on Zoom. I remember I met Aaron the first time in real life, and I passed by and Matja said, "This is by the way Aaron," and I was like, "Oh, he's really tall." Okay, so it's amazing to be with you. And before we really go into sustainable logistics, and I know why you invited me, I would like to talk for a moment just about sustainability and go a bit back to what Oskar already kicked off in his part of the presentation. When we talk about sustainability, it's very often perceived as a buzzword, right? We automatically connect it with climate change. You see it frequently in the newspapers, but when have you looked up a definition the last time? I'm quite honest with you, I did it at the beginning of this week in preparation of this event. And I would like to do it with you now for a second as well. The UN World Commission defines sustainability as meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Oskar already had it as well as a part of his presentation, and I think it shows that sustainability is a real broad, topic, and it is focusing mainly on three pillars. What is economic, environmental, and social. Or let me make it a bit simpler for me as a business person, it's maybe people, planet, and profits. And when you mention profits in the context of sustainability, a lot of people look at you like, no, this is not sustainability. But it's not true. I think if we really are capable to change the core of our business in a sustainable manner, we will see cost reductions, we will see increases in efficiency, and we will also attract more customers and increase our market share. I'm absolutely convinced by this, so I think there is nothing wrong to talk about profits in the context of sustainability. But there is one core point with it. A couple of years ago, the large firms all came up with CSR strategies, right? And it was more like I need to have it. It's important, brand, reputation, advertising, marketing came up with it. This is not the CSR strategy that will help the planet, nor will it help our communities or our businesses. What we need is, in my view, a real offensive CSR strategy. And with offensive, I mean we need to be picking the right issues. Then we need to establish concrete goals. As UPS, we are often known as a company led by engineers. So we are a big fan of saying what gets measured will be successful. And I think in the context of CSR, there is a truth in it, so that we stop talking and really start acting. Then we need to deploy the company's assets, the key assets, or we need to make sustainability core of our business and not just a marketing campaign. And finally, I think we will not be succeeding with sustainability without cross-sector partnerships. Some of you know that my core expertise is more in human resources and in general management, so we want to talk about all these 4 elements, and of course in the context of logistics, but please allow me to change the order a little bit, and let us start with the importance of partnerships and collaboration. There is a very, very nice UPS example to it, and this really points out the importance of cross-functional partnerships. Yeah? Some of you might know that UPS owns a drone airline, and that we had the first drone airline that received the full certification from the Federal Aviation Administration. Okay? Some of you might even know that we are intending to purchase 150 electric vertical takeoff and landing aircrafts to extend our sustainable electric footprint in the air. And of course, currently we use it mainly for green and rapid transport of really important medical deliveries. Yeah, so there is still a long path until you will see a UPS drone, most likely downtown Milano. But a very, very limited group can remember where our drone history is coming from. It started already in April 2017, and it started in Rwanda. Yeah, what might be a surprise because we are a big American cooperation, and usually when we pilot we do it in the US, but in this case it was Rwanda. And we contributed our expertise in logistics to the local healthcare system that was really in need. And for us, the benefit that at this time we were not expecting, it was a pure CSR initiative to help Rwanda, and they're our charity partners. We were able to bring it back into our core business. And I would like to show you now a little video about this story.
Je m'appelle Dr Buxenye Jean-Pierre, je suis le chef des services de néonatologie. Au cas d'une hémorragie du poste de Parfum, on aura besoin de transfuser la maman qui saigne ou qui a saigné. Et cette transfusion doit être faite en urgence. Quelque chose a été fait par les médecins ou une autre personne soignante, la maman peut décéder.
When you talk about surgery, when you talk about maternity, when you talk about injury, all those phenomena in our lives need and require blood.
So the challenge in Rwanda is, although they have good coverage, it is a hilly country, the infrastructure, most of the roads are not paved, and so during rainy season it's difficult to pass.
Imagine a situation where a mother needs blood. She's been hemorrhaging and she needs blood in the next 25 minutes, otherwise it will be too late. Tell me, what other technology today can you use to deliver that product?
We believe that the drone technology is critical, particularly in circumstances where a life is at stake, where every minute counts, and you can't get through a road because it's impassable.
Our ultimate goal in Rwanda is to put every one of Rwanda's about 11 million citizens within 15 to 30 minutes delivery of any essential medical product they could need.
We are not only contemplating blood servicing, we are also contemplating vaccine distribution, we are also contemplating any other good which can be transported by these drones.
One of the things that we want to really emphasize is that it's now not just possible but affordable to provide that instant, reliable access to medical products, even for people in rural and hard-to-reach areas.
The government of Rwanda is a visionary in taking this extra step, and now we're going to help save millions of lives throughout the world as we expand this idea.
This is a perfect example of what you can achieve with collaboration, right? It was at the end the local communities, it was politics, it was business, not only us, you also saw other businesses in this video, it was charities involved, and together, of course, we have a project established that is very, very helpful for Rwanda and that got further expanded, but where also everybody really benefited beyond. We will be able, through these learnings, to bring it back to a certain degree into our core business, to grow the idea of drone delivery there further, and we are now on a track really to, to establish this further also in an economy relevant way. And this also shows that social value can go very well in hand with certain ideas and creativity if we collaborate well. If we then go back to my offensive CSR strategy thinking, we started it off with we need to tackle the right issue. Today the right issue is very obvious, because this is the reason why we are here. We want to talk about climate change, and you know these numbers, and it's more than scary. And it is also one of the alerts why we have to say we need to do it now. We need to stop talking, or we need to continue talking. We need to continue collaborating, but while we are talking, we also need to be active, and we need to be acting. And I told you at the beginning, we are an engineering company. We measure for success. So we have a very clear agenda, and our carbon neutrality is a bit ahead in the far future versus what I have seen from some of you. But honestly, it's also about putting up realistic goals and then really to be successful with these goals. So there you see a bit what lies ahead of UPS, and of course, we are one of the Fortune 50 companies. We can't be comparable with an entrepreneurial startup business that is very flexible, right? We always need also to respect the scale, and with that, the changing frequency simply of our company size. But I also want to talk a bit how we want to achieve this and show this a bit, to you. And this is at the end of the day then the third component. It is about putting it into the core of your business, and with that really assigning company assets for sustainable delivery. And there we bring it back from Rwanda into our core business, and with that also directly to our customers. What you see here is really three of the core concepts of our sustainable delivery fleet. The one is, and I'm extremely proud of it, a cooperation with Arrival. Arrival is a British startup company, and we partnered very, very in the early beginnings with them to purchase their e-vehicles, and not only for the UK, not only for Europe. It's really a worldwide purchasing order, and Arrival became one of our core suppliers for e-vehicles. Not the only one, but it is a major cooperation between us as a large US corporate and a very innovative British startup, and it's highly appreciated, and we are very proud to have these cars already on road with, at the moment, the largest electric delivery fleet that a logistics company has. Then you see a bit, a modernized version of a bike, of course, also with a little bit of e-support, what will simply help us downtown. The growth in B2C through the crisis, through COVID-19 was tremendous. Yeah, but it's also that all these online orders help us to grow, especially SMB companies, you know, to give them also an online footprint, to make them more independent from their home market as they understand how to export and go international. But at the end, it's also something that is creating still emissions. Yeah, and we see it in Milano when we drive down and we see all the trucks, so we can really feel the pollution and the noise directly in front of our own door, right? It's not a problem that is far away and it needs to be tackled, and this combination from e-vans and e-bikes is one of the core concepts, and for sure you do not want to charge them with this traditional way of electricity. And this is the reason why, and this is a picture from Dubai, where we have at the expo currently one of our sustainability labs, a charging panel above our cars to refuel them very, very fast, high speed, and with that also in a sustainable manner. And I want to give you a little bit of hands-on impression how this looks, and we were unfortunately not able to find a video from Milano, even if we have here excessive bicycle delivery as well, or Glasgow. So I hope you will also appreciate a little bit of insight into Dublin.
There are approximately 200,000 individuals commuting into the city on a daily basis. As a civic authority, we can bring a certain amount to resolving city challenges. But we look increasingly to the private sector, to companies like UPS, to bring innovation and new ideas.
Over half of the world's population lives in a city, and that's projected to rise to 2/3 in years to come.
Our eco-hub is basically a solution to a city centre problem that relates to congestion and traffic. The idea behind it is that the trailer gets picked up in our depot in the morning, brought into town, and then the guys work from there to deliver to different locations across the centre of Dublin City.
There's 2 dedicated cargo cruiser service providers. It's basically a normal bike, slightly more robust, with some assisted electrical aid. And that's been one of the great success stories, is people, the general public, tourists, they love taking a selfie with a cargo cruiser. It's really become quite an iconic image in Dublin.
They're just excited because it's such a new vehicle in and around the town. It's definitely a brilliant idea. It's definitely a step forward into the future.
Went from package car driver to eco driver. I'm 49 this year, I'm losing weight, I'm getting fit.
This all started for us several years ago in Hamburg in Germany. In fact, if you go to downtown Hamburg now, with very few exceptions, there are no UPS diesel vehicles there anymore.
We wanted to take additional steps from the original Hamburg model to use that additional brand awareness as an opportunity for us to offer a differential from the competition.
We reached out to the National College of Art and Design and asked their college students to create a design based on a key concept which focused on sustainability and Dublin city centre. Without a shadow of a doubt, it's groundbreaking, it's something that we haven't seen before.
The customers are excited. You know, this is something different that hasn't been done before. They like that we are taking this seriously and they're excited to see what's next.
It absolutely is just beginning. We're already talking to the council about a second location. We have a 5-year project that includes making the whole of Dublin alternative fuel. This is really just the start for us.
You hear a lot of companies talking about what they're going to do, but UPS didn't just talk, we did it. And we did it on a great level. The partnership between UPS and Dublin City Council shows that when you work together, great things can be achieved.
And there we are back, right, to collaboration, and this is what I want to really advocate for. I guess if we are in a detailed collaboration, we can achieve so much. And this video is not from this year and has not started this year. Hamburg, that was our original pilot, is something we pulled up roughly 10 years ago, and since that we are continuously learning and expanding. So, you know, in the meanwhile, I already mentioned we started in Milano. We have it in Paris, we have it in Munich, we even piloted in New York, where you're still a bit challenged with the high delivery density to get enough work on a bike, yeah, on the short distances. There sometimes it really makes more sense to walk than to drive with a bike. But it's not only last mile. I spoke very much about last mile. At the end, we, as a logistics company, we need you, we need the politics, but we also need our customers to look in the whole network, because partnership collaboration has also something to do with networks. And if we look into the network cycle of a logistics flow, there's so much more we can do, you know, recycling of packaging, you know, then making it all more efficient. We were often laughed about already ages ago, when we introduced the campaign, always turn to the right. And people said, what is this? Your package car drivers get their driving loop defined that they always turn right and never turn left. Why are you doing it? Yeah, because when you stop to wait the other traffic passing, you have a higher fuel consumption, you have a higher risk of accidents, you make the workday of your people longer, and you can now laugh at me because you say, yeah, but when you turn left, really, have you measured this? Yes, we are an engineering company, we measured it. And it was a significant reduction in our cost, purely because of fuel saving. And looking for sustainable alternatives is nice, but to find ways where you don't even have any consumption is even better, you know. So sometimes it is very, very simple. And with that, I come to my last slide. At the end, we are day by day improving on our sustainability efforts, but we are already offering our customers a wide range and portfolio for the whole flow of their logistics volume, and we need this collaboration to get better, and with that also, you know, to have a real active contribution and a lead on climate change. And with that, I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Britta. That was absolutely fascinating. I love seeing those drones flying around, and I'm looking forward to seeing them flying around the cities more often, dropping packages and doing the work. I mean, that's really amazing. Also, the point about decarbonisation of transport is interesting, because there's a little known statistic about decarbonisation, which I think is worth bearing in mind. Now, we could decarbonise tomorrow. The effects on the climate may take 10, 20 years to actually bed in before you see the systems start to repair themselves. But if you decarbonise transportation and other things now, what you will notice is that pollution will disappear within weeks, days, weeks, a couple of weeks. And now think about this. There are 9 million deaths per year worldwide linked to illnesses relating from the burning of fossil fuels. That's twice the number of deaths than there were in the first year of the pandemic. Pandemic closes the world down. Air pollution, not so much. So it's a little known statistic and one worth bearing in mind. And also goes to show that if we do change now, we can have some immediate impact. So I'd like to introduce our very last speaker, and then after that we can have some questions. If you have questions, and then I think we have some drinks somewhere. Last but by no means least, Roberto Ferroni from New Energy Matrix. Please come up, the floor is yours.
Last minute change, because we may be able to show a video at some point of our presentation. We'll have it at the end, if that's the... I'll start introducing myself as a so, good evening, everyone. Thanks again to the British Chamber of Commerce for giving us this opportunity of presenting our idea. So, as Tom said, I am Roberto Ferroni. I am a geologist. Actually, I started my career analyzing hydrocarbon-bearing rocks. Then I moved from that to analysis, data interpretation. Finally, I had the opportunity of switching over to the renewable energy sector. I took that opportunity, and now that is what I'm doing. One of the main projects I'm involved with is, in fact, this one with the new energy matrix. Can I have the, thank you, which is the net zero citizen network that we are starting. So what is, I need to start with what is net zero and why it is important, of course. So much has been said about the role of greenhouse gases in altering the planet's climate. A new energy matrix, we believe that within the general problem there are some priority aspects that must be addressed. So the impact of mankind on the planet is undeniable. Our very presence is the main factor impacting environment, ecosystems, causing loss of biodiversity and outright extinction. So we have the responsibility of making our footprint a little lighter, actually significantly lighter than it is now. The benefits of a lighter impact will be ultimately ours. As I said, I'm a geologist. I have studied the history of this planet long enough to know that in the deep past, nature has always bounced back from even the most dire and hostile periods. But our concern is actually for ourselves, the humans, with our complex and ubiquitous civilization. Particularly because the climate crisis will impact, and is already impacting disproportionately, the fragile, the poor, and the future generations. So for this reason, the concept of climate justice was recently introduced because it is apparent that a livable environment is a basic human right. And there is no way to avoid the responsibility of changing the present course in order to reach such climate justice. So there is, in fact, a lot that can be done and should be done by individuals, by businesses and institutions. New Energy Matrix has built the Net Zero Citizen project for this scope. So this is where we are heading to. We want to help others to reach net zero. Net zero means generating zero greenhouse gas emissions. Of course, it is not possible not to generate any CO2, just breathing generates that. Which means that the concept involves compensating for the emissions in one of three ways, primarily. These are the ones that we are going to work with. Generating low emissions energy from renewable sources, decreasing one's energy consumption, and sequestering greenhouse gases with forestation programs, CO2 in particular, of course. So, at the same time, we have a problem with greenwashing. The concept is relatively new, but by now we all know about it. It describes the attempts from many parties, mostly medium and large businesses, to appear greener than they really are, via marketing stunts and exploiting loopholes in carbon credit systems. This is what is going on. We may think that it is harmless, it's just somebody trying to look good in order to appease concerned customers, but in fact it is not harmless, it is damaging, because greenwashing replaces green action. What companies spend in marketing their green credentials or in purchasing certificates to look greener, in fact, is being saved from true efforts to leave carbon in the ground, which is done using less energy or using low energy, low carbon energy. So we think that this can be fixed. We believe that citizens, communities, and companies, small and medium enterprises, deserve a place where they can record their true contributions to decarbonization, and a place where greenwashing is not possible. So this is Net Zero Citizen, and this is the network and database that we are building. So just a couple of words about where we come from, who is Curtis & Associates and what is a New Energy Matrix. Curtis & Associates Group has provided data management solutions to the energy sector for the past 30 years. So the core technologies involve data acquisition solutions, data transmission, real-time data access, standard, anything that has to do with making data available to utilize it, to analyze it in real time. In recent times, we have intensified also our research on the distributed ledger technology, more commonly known as blockchain, because this kind of technology is ideal to build databases which are shared, distributed, secure and tamper-proof. So this is the direction in which we have been going. So we can say that the Net Zero Citizen project is rooted at the crossroads of three specific concepts: the internet, the IoT, blockchain, and the other one, of course, is decarbonization. For this, on this point, I need to mention our GoldTick project because our founder and president, John Curtis, was never satisfied with simply running a successful business. He has always strived for new ventures. Over the years, some of these ventures have become reality, and one of the most important ones is GoldTick, started in 2005 in Indonesia. It is an agroforestry project where we have planted tens of thousands of teak trees, approximately 32,000, entirely managed by the local communities, which support the local community, but also do something quite important, which is sequestering carbon. So after 15 years of constant growth, the amount of CO2 sequestered by the GoldTick project is enough to offset our company's yearly CO2 emissions. So we are technically net zero. I say technically because this kind of carbon offset is not universally accepted. It wasn't at the time when it started, after the Kyoto Protocol. Things are changing now, but because of that, in parallel, we are also registering our own SBT initiative in order to decrease the company's carbon footprint, regardless of the success of GoldTick. So we are trying to attack the issue on both sides. So, this is who we are, and I'm going to go straight to our project here. So the Net Zero project consists in building a network. The participants of this network will be able to register their decarbonization efforts, which will be quantified and updated over time. The technology utilized guarantees that the data are correct and they cannot be tampered with. So the data will be transparent and will be shared, which is not always the case with all the SBTI projects that we can see these days. The raw data, which are really the core of the system, will consist in either a megawatt hour of energy saved or megawatt hour of renewable energy produced, or tons of CO2 sequestered with forestation. This will be the core of the project. The entire project will be open source, which means that the participants not only will utilize the network to register their contribution, but they will be able to work on it, they will be able to write code, for example, to identify new ways to calculate zero carbon contributions. And because of how blockchain projects work, this process will go through a consensus process, which will involve everyone on the network. That's why I say the project is democratic. And if it passes that consensus, it will be accepted. So this is one of the stronger points of the project, because it gives the perspective of really developing many further solutions beyond what we have already actually imagined this far. So I put here a picture of these geckos here, because I will mention them in a moment, because basically these geckos will be the tools we utilize to measure. They will be like the tokens of this participation. So some examples of how this can be utilized: for example, a small community or a school can decide to plant trees in their yard, and which is always healthy, and they will be able to freely join the network and register the trees, and the network tools will calculate the CO2 captured. A larger institution, such as a city, could do that on a bigger scale, like they're doing here in Milan with the Forestry project, 3 million trees to be planted in 10 years. So they will be able to tag such trees so they are registered on the network. The event we had this morning, the ceremonial tagging, was actually going to show that we already have in place the technology to do that. And once this record is collected through this IoT on a secure database, the dedicated tokens, our purple geckos, will be assigned to the project, and it will be recorded on the database. Geckos will come in different colors. We have also thought of green ones, which will be utilized for prosumers. Basically, we decided to call them geckos because the characteristic of this animal is that it sticks to walls. So green geckos will stick to the packet of energy, renewable energy that they've been created with. It means that they cannot be sold separately from it. This is one of the main loopholes which is causing greenwashing. Companies are purchasing green certificates without really also purchasing the underlying renewable energy. So this kind of technology makes that impossible because you can only acquire the certificate if you actually have purchased the corresponding renewable energy. And sorry, something happened? I pressed the wrong button? I'm already to the thank you. Yeah, let me go back. Okay, I was here. Yeah, I was talking about businesses. We're also going to utilize blue geckos to assign credits to companies which are involved in science-based technology projects, and those will indicate the amount of energy that has been saved year on year on the actually either directly from their meters, we can do that with IoT, or from the readings from their electricity bills. So one way or another, this can be taken into account. So the conclusions. We believe that this can be a novel type of network where all the participants share all the information and all the rules. It can deliver two things which are very important. One is collaboration. We are a business. We have thrived in a competitive environment. We do realize, however, that there are some goals, especially very large goals, where collaboration is more important than competition. This is one of them. The technology that we have chosen is actually ideal to let this collaboration thrive, because this kind of network works if everybody is, say, stimulated in making sure that only genuine data is recorded on it, otherwise it doesn't work. The other is trust. A network where the relationships between participants are written in the code and automated is a zero trust environment. Zero trust means that participants do not necessarily need to trust all the other participants in the network, especially if they don't know them, so long as they trust the rules of the network. This is another tool which enhances collaboration. Is the meaning of bringing trust to the net zero age, which is our motto. So the faster our network will grow, the earlier such trust and collaboration will spread about the business community, and we think that we can give quite a contribution with this kind of initiative, or we want to hope so. So this is what I have. Yes. Yes, at the end, I completely forgot, sorry John, we have a little video about this geckos I talked about, and we wanted to show.
The energy we utilize each day comes from many different sources. Some are renewable, like solar photovoltaic, hydroelectric, or wind turbines. Others involve burning fossil fuels. So how do we know that the energy we are using is renewable? Electrons on the grid are all the same, but when someone, an energy company or a prosumer, generates renewable energy, there are institutions that measure it and assign it to a certificate, corresponding to a certain amount of green energy. So what happens when the energy is sold? It depends on how energy is sold. A consumer who has a direct contract with the provider will buy the energy and the certificates together. However, there is also a market where consumers or companies can buy the certificates without purchasing the underlying energy. Some companies can buy only the certificates and claim that their energy is renewable, when in fact it may not be. This is greenwashing, And it is a problem because it prevents real decarbonization efforts. Meet the geckos. Geckos are a new kind of certificates. They are Green Ecosystem Certificate of Known Origin. What makes them different is that geckos stick to their renewable energy packets. You cannot shake them off. How? Because geckos are used within a shared and decentralized database network. Network is decentralized and controlled by consensus of everyone. Every transaction is transparent and the database cannot be tampered with. The energy cannot be sold without its geckos. The geckos favor true decarbonization and climate justice instead of publicity stunts because geckos introduce transparency and trust in the process. The geckos prevent greenwashing that keep happening and double counting. The energy is produced once, sold and used once. The geckos will be at COP26. New Energy Matrix is all in to support COP26 to help climate justice and true decarbonization of our economy. See you there.
I want a gecko. That was wonderful. That was really, really fascinating. What wonderful technology, and what an inspiring message also from a business that is innovating and leading the way. So we're very proud to call you members, and thank you so much for what you're doing. We look forward to seeing you in Glasgow. One word that's come up today, which has repeated, I think, in everyone's presentation, is a C word, collaboration. I don't know if any of the rest of you noticed it, but collaboration is mentioned there just by Jonata. Collaboration is mentioned by Britta. Collaboration was mentioned by Richard and by Saren. Collaboration between chambers. Collaboration was mentioned by Katrina in her speech, and collaboration mentioned also by Oskar. And I think that's the fil rouge of this, is if we're going to get there, if we're going to win the race to zero, we need to collaborate. We can't do it on our own. And isn't it so fantastic to be in a room together physically where we feel like we're collaborating and not over a screen? So I want to thank all of our speakers today for a really fantastic presentations. I think in terms of questions, we've got an aperitivo downstairs, Aaron, in the bar, I think. So if you have questions for the speakers, you can ask them directly of them down in the bar. And just to close it, Stephen, are you here? I'd like to, yes, there he is. I'd like to just ask President Stephen to come and say a few closing words, and then you can all go downstairs to the bar for a I don't know if it's alcoholic. Maybe it's alcoholic.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Hopefully. Is there a cocktail called a gecko, by the way? I don't know.
The other good thing about geckos is that they eat mosquitoes. From my perspective, thank you very, very much for coming this evening. I think there's another theme that's gone through, which again is very Italian, is stop with parole, 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 and actually do something. From the children in Glasgow, through I think pretty much everybody, referred to the need to take action. And I think that's clearly something that we're taking away, even if action is being taken, I think, at a high level, it needs to come down and it needs to get to everybody. I think one of the things I picked up a couple of weeks ago in Pontignano, and the things that I've been hearing recently, is that we all need to do something at our own level to contribute to doing something for the people who are going to come after us. And it's not good enough just to say, oh, well, it's not my problem, or it's going to cost too much. We have to find a way of dealing with it. Having said that, again, thank you very much for coming. Have a good evening, and thank you very much for those that contributed today. It was fascinating. Sorry, one more thing, which I found very, very interesting. As I walked in, Oskar was talking about a new renaissance. As a historian, that's fascinating. It's fascinating that we should be at a point in time when we have the opportunity to change the world. Exactly what happened at the end of the 15th century, we now have an opportunity to do the same. So let's collaborate and do it. Thank you very much.